Detroit, Michigan, $1.5 to $1.8 billion in annual underground gang economy. But here's what makes Detroit different from every city we've analyzed. This economy exists in the ruins of another economy. Where Ford and GM once employed 300,000 workers making cars, now 15,000 gang members move drugs through abandoned factories. Where the middle class once thrived, now trap houses operate in foreclosed homes selling for $500. Detroit is what happens when a legitimate billion-dollar economy collapses and an underground billion-dollar economy rises in its place. And the infrastructure is perfect. Abandoned buildings, free trap houses, empty lots, stash locations. The Canadian border 5 miles north, smuggling route for guns and money. I-75 running south to Atlanta and north to Canada, distribution highway. Today we're following the money through Detroit, from West Side heroin houses to Canadian border runs, from corner dealers to Midwest distributors. We're tracking how $1.8 billion moves through America's most hollowed-out city. This is street economics. Let's follow the money in Detroit. Detroit's gang economy breaks down by areas, and the numbers show how industrial collapse created concentrated drug markets. West Side Detroit, $550 million annually, the heart of Detroit's heroin trade. Brightmoor, Fitzgerald, Grandmont, this is where most trap houses operate. Blocks of abandoned homes, buy one for $500, turn it into a trap house generating $3,000 to $5,000 daily. The West Side alone has over 200 active trap houses at any given time. East Side Detroit, $450 million annually. The East Side is where Blood and Crips sets migrated from LA and Chicago in the 1990s and 2000s. More street-level sales than wholesale. Higher violence than West Side because more sets competing for same territory. But lower overall revenue because it's retail, not wholesale. Southwest Detroit, $350 million annually. Latino gangs with direct connections to Mexican cartels. This is where cocaine enters Detroit. Southwest serves as the connection point between Mexican supply and Detroit distribution. Smaller total revenue, but higher profit margins because they're closer to wholesale source. Downtown Midtown, $100 million annually. Gentrification has pushed most gang activity out. Remaining operations serve downtown professionals, cocaine and prescription pills, not heroin. Small market, but high prices. Suburban distribution, Warren, Pontiac, Flint, $350 million annually. This isn't Detroit proper, but Detroit gangs control drug distribution to surrounding suburbs. White suburban heroin addiction crisis equals major market. Dealers drive product from Detroit trap houses to suburban parking lots, make sales, return, lower risk than city operations, consistent revenue. Total, $1.8 billion flowing through Detroit's gang economy annually. That's smaller than Chicago, LA, New York, or Atlanta. But here's what's important. Detroit's population is only 630,000. That means Detroit has the highest per capita gang economy of any major city. More gang revenue per resident than anywhere else in America. The collapse created concentration. Let's follow a dollar through Detroit's heroin economy. Level 1, trap house worker, makes $300 to $600 per week. A worker in a West Side trap house bags heroin, handles sales through a slot in the door, works 12 to 16-hour shifts. He's making $1,200 to $2,400 monthly. That's $15,000 to $30,000 annually. This is poverty, and the risk is extreme. Trap houses get robbed constantly, police raid them, customers overdose inside, and workers get charged with manslaughter. But the alternative, no job, no money, no options in a city with 50% real unemployment, makes this the best available choice for many. Level 2, trap house manager, makes $1,000 to $2,500 per week. The manager runs the trap house. He receives product from his supplier, pays workers, handles security, manages operations. He's making $4,000 to $10,000 monthly, $50,000 to $120,000 annually. At this level, you can afford a decent car, an apartment, provide for family. You're middle class by Detroit standards. But you're also the target when things go wrong. When workers steal, when houses get robbed, when police raid. Managers get 5 to 15-year prison sentences. Level 3, area supplier, makes $10,000 to $30,000 per week. This person supplies 5 to 10 trap houses in a specific area. He coordinates product delivery, collects money, handles disputes. He's moving 1 to 3 kilos of heroin weekly. Income, $40,000 to $120,000 monthly, $500,000 to $1.5 million annually. At this level, you're wealthy by Detroit standards. Multiple properties, luxury vehicles, but you're also on law enforcement radar. DEA knows your name. FBI is building a case. Your career at this level lasts 2 to 4 years on average before federal indictment. Level 4 makes $50,000 to $150,000 per week. These are the people who supply entire sides of the city, all of West Side or all of East Side. They coordinate with 10 to 20 area suppliers. They're moving 10 to 30 kilos of heroin weekly. $200,000 to $600,000 monthly, $2.5 million to $7 million annually. At this level, you're operating a multi-million-dollar business. You own legitimate businesses, car washes, party stores, rental properties. You employ accountants and lawyers. You rarely touch drugs directly. Everything is insulated through layers of people below you. But you're also a major federal target. RICO indictments, asset forfeiture. Your whole operation can collapse overnight. Level 5, Midwest Connection, makes $100,000 to $400,000 per month. At the top are distributors who supply Detroit and other Midwest cities, Toledo, Cleveland, Columbus, Indianapolis. They coordinate directly with Mexican cartels or major traffickers. They're moving 50 to 100 kilos monthly across the entire region. Annual income, $1.2 million to $5 million. These individuals are making serious money, but they're also living under constant surveillance. Federal wiretaps, informants, multi-year investigations. When they get caught, they're facing 20 years to life. The money flows up. Trap house workers, $400 becomes managers, $1,500 becomes suppliers, $15,000 becomes distributors, $75,000 becomes regional connections, $200,000. Detroit's ladder has one fewer level than Atlanta or New York because the market is smaller and more regional. But the pyramid structure is the same. Why did Detroit become a major drug market despite economic collapse? The ruins became the infrastructure. Abandoned buildings, free trap houses. Detroit has over 80,000 abandoned structures, houses, apartment buildings, even small factories. Many are city-owned after foreclosure, but the city lacks resources to demolish or secure them. Gangs take them over. A house that sold for $200,000 in 2000 can be bought for $500 in 2026 at tax auction. Or just occupied without buying it. Squatters' rights. Turn it into a trap house operating 24/7. Cost to set up, $500 to $5,000. Buy house or bribe inspector, install security, stock product. Revenue, $3,000 to $5,000 daily. That's $90,000 to $150,000 monthly from a $500 investment. Over 200 trap houses operating at any time in Detroit. That's $18 million to $30 million in monthly revenue just from heroin houses. The Canadian border, 5 miles north, Detroit shares a border with Windsor, Canada. And that border is critical for two things: guns going north, money going north. Canadian gun laws are strict. Firearms purchased legally in Michigan sell for 3x to 5x markup in Canada. A $400 pistol in Detroit becomes a $1,500 pistol in Toronto. But more importantly, money laundering. Canadian banks have looser reporting requirements for cash deposits than U.S. banks. Drug money crosses the border in cars, gets deposited in Canadian banks, then wire transferred to accounts in Mexico or elsewhere. The border provides money laundering infrastructure that interior cities don't have. I-75, the heroin highway. I-75 runs from Florida to Michigan. Drugs flow north from Atlanta and Cincinnati to Detroit. From Detroit, they distribute to smaller Michigan cities and to Canada. But I-75 also runs south, and that's important for suburban distribution. Detroit dealers drive south on I-75 to Troy, Auburn Hills, Livonia, wealthy suburbs with heroin addiction problems, make sales in parking lots, return to Detroit. The highway provides access to high-paying suburban markets. Midwest Geographic Center, Detroit is 4 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Cleveland, and 3 hours from Toledo. It is the northeastern hub for Midwest drug distribution, making it a crucial location for trafficking operations in the region. Heroin arrives from Mexican cartels through Atlanta or directly from Chicago. Detroit distributors then supply the entire region, including Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and even parts of Pennsylvania, making Detroit central to the movement of drugs across the Midwest. This geographic position is why Detroit's gang economy is $1.8 billion despite a shrinking population. It's not just local sales, it's regional distribution that fuels this underground economy and makes Detroit a key player in the drug trade. The economic collapse created opportunity. When automotive plants closed, 300,000 jobs disappeared. Unemployment hit 50% in some neighborhoods. Foreclosures left thousands of abandoned houses. Police force shrank from budget cuts. Into that vacuum came the drug economy. For young men with no job prospects, working a trap house pays better than minimum wage if you survive. For distributors, abandoned infrastructure provides free operations space. For suppliers, reduced police presence means less risk. Detroit's collapse created perfect conditions for the underground economy to thrive. Detroit's money laundering is different from other cities because the legitimate economy is so weak. There's less to hide money in, so methods are unique. Method 1. Cash businesses, limited options. In Atlanta or New York, you can launder through studios or high-end restaurants. In Detroit, your options are party stores, car washes, barber shops, and small restaurants in struggling neighborhoods. You buy a party store for $50,000 to $100,000. Report $20,000 to $40,000 in extra monthly revenue that didn't happen. That's $240,000 to $480,000 annually laundered through one business. Detroit has hundreds of party stores and car washes. Many party stores and car washes are legitimate. Many are money laundering fronts. The challenge for law enforcement: it's hard to tell the difference because legitimate businesses in Detroit also struggle, so low reported revenue looks normal. Method 2. Real estate, buying abandoned properties. This is Detroit specific. You buy 20 abandoned houses for $500 to $5,000 each. Total investment, $10,000 to $100,000. Claim you're renovating them. Report spending $200,000 on renovations that never happen. That's laundered drug money. Then rent them out for $400 to $800 monthly. Now you have rental income justifying cash flow. And if property values rise, they have been, you're laundering money and building equity. Multiple federal cases have documented this exact scheme in Detroit. Method 3. Auto repair and towing. Detroit still has car culture. Auto repair shops, body shops, towing companies, all cash businesses. Claim you did 50 extra oil changes per week at $50 each. That's $20,500 weekly in fake revenue. $130,000 annually laundered through one shop. Buy 3 to 5 shops, you're moving $400,000 to $600,000 in drug money through legitimate businesses annually. Method 4. Canadian border cash smuggling. This is unique to Detroit. Drive cash across to Windsor, deposit in Canadian bank, wire transfer to Mexico or offshore accounts. Canadian banks report large deposits but less aggressively than U.S. banks. And once money is in Canada, tracking becomes international jurisdiction issue. Estimated $200 million to $400 million in Detroit drug money crosses to Canada annually for laundering. Method 5. Casino laundering. Detroit has 3 casinos. Take $50,000 in cash to casino, buy chips, gamble minimally, cash out. Casino gives you a check. Now it's casino winnings, legitimate income. Casinos report large transactions, but if you spread it across multiple visits and multiple people, you can move significant money. This method works better for mid-level dealers, $100,000 to $500,000 annually, than major distributors. The challenge in Detroit, less legitimate economy, means fewer laundering options. But the options that exist, abandoned real estate, border access, casinos, are used heavily. The automotive dream died in Detroit, but the money still flows, just through different hands, different products, different buildings. This is Detroit. $1.8 billion in underground economy. The city where auto plants became trap houses, where middle-class neighborhoods became drug markets, where economic collapse created the infrastructure for a different economy entirely, which is now 60% the size of the legitimate auto industry. In a city that was built on auto manufacturing, abandoned homes aren't blight, they're free business locations for trap houses. Empty factories aren't industrial ruins, they're stash houses. The Canadian border isn't just geography, it's money laundering infrastructure. The drug trade isn't an alternative to legitimate economy in Detroit. For tens of thousands of people, it is the economy. This is street economics. We follow the money from auto plants to trap houses, from assembly lines to heroin lines. Subscribe for weekly analysis. We're documenting how underground economies function across America.